resupply boxes, I used regional rate boxes that you can request from the post office. This box A is a smaller box and box B is slightly bigger, and they're both shipped based on the distance and the weight. As I packed the boxes, I weighed each of them and put a label on them. This one was box number 7 that weighed 5.5 pounds. And I found in general most of my boxes weighed about 5.5 pounds. And that doesn't sound like a lot, but when you get to 5.5 pounds of new stuff, that's all either going in your pack or somewhere else. My boxes contained a number of things. I got some great deals on candy before I left, so instead of a candy bar, which on the trail might cost you $1.20, $1.50, these were about 60-some cents a piece. So I broke these up into different boxes. I added granola bars and other snacks that I knew that I liked so that I could have those just as treats and also to save a little bit of money. I also included things like vitamins, which buying these on the trail is very expensive and it's hard to get. The small sizes that you would need to carry, and if you don't want to carry a big bottle of vitamins, this is a good way to do it, particularly if you have special nutritional needs. So I would get these sent to me periodically, but in reality I didn't take them all, so they ended up being just extra weight for me. Other things that I included in small quantities were refills of Dr. Bronner's soap, anti-chafe that I had placed into small containers, hand sanitizer, and bug spray. It turns out I didn't use nearly as much Dr. Bronner's as I expected, so these often ended up in a hiker box. I didn't use a lot of bug spray either, so I needed that a little bit during the summertime, but not in every single box. Anti-chafe I needed more than I expected, and I ended up buying a full-size tube of this and just carrying that with me, even though it was a little bit more weight. I was using so much that I didn't want to have to ration, and with this little tiny container I did feel like I was rationing a bit. And hand sanitizer is something you can pick up pretty easily either in a hiker box and refill your bottle, or at a dollar store, so this wasn't really necessary either, but I didn't know that before I started hiking, so it was one of the things that I learned as I was out there. One thing I did really enjoy getting was refills on seasoning. Having crushed red pepper, which you can get with a pizza at the pizza parlor, is nice to kind of beef up the flavoring of some of your meals, as well as soy sauce. And Chinese mustard I thought was really great to have. I don't know if there's any in here. Texas Pete you can pick up in packets at Chick-fil-A. And of course mayonnaise. I even used mayonnaise all the time when I was eating tuna, because I would eat the albacore tuna, not seasoned tuna. So that was good to have. Jelly, these things would just come in handy because I wasn't really frequenting fast food restaurants, so I couldn't pick up extra packets when I was there. I only went to fast food maybe once a month at best. On the trail, even when I went to town, I was going for things like Mexican, other food that was a little bit more substantial than fast food if I had the option. It was nice to get cocoa, hot cocoa, and coffee packets, things like oatmeal that come in larger quantities in the store. Nice to have those broken up and sent in smaller quantities in the resupply box, but since I wasn't getting a box every resupply, I would either end up with a few extras and carrying more than I wanted, or I might be running short. So I still ended up buying some of these things in the store and splitting them with other hikers. And then if I knew I had a resupply box coming, then I would just count that into my resupply before I went to the store. To pick up the box before I went to the store so I could see what was in here and then make my shopping list accordingly. And the little packet of beverages with the coffee and hot cocoa, I also included several of these that I picked up on a deep discount before I left. But it turns out that Crystal Light does not have sugar in it, and I needed all the calories I could get, so I did not use these on the trail. They're fine now that I'm home. I can use the leftovers now that I'm here, but definitely not great on the trail because I really needed to bulk up on calories whenever I could. Food items like these, the nuts were great to have in a resupply box because sometimes you could find things like this on the trail and sometimes it would be a little harder to find. Again, if the package is too big, then you're stuck carrying more than you want, but I ate a lot of nuts as part of my lunch because I just really got so sick of the tuna and I didn't do tortillas and I just couldn't eat that, so these were great for me to snack on. So getting these in a resupply box was a nice treat. Other food items that I packed, I ended up learning that you could really get these in not only in just about any store that you went into, but also in hiker boxes, because so many people ended up dumping them if they had more than they need, and that would be the mashed potatoes, the nor pasta sides, and the ramen. I ended up eating a lot of hiker box ramen, particularly if my resupply was a place like Walmart and you could only buy a big pack of these and I just needed a couple. I'd grab whatever was in the hiker box and use that. I also discovered that the mashed potatoes for me were like kryptonite. There were two things that I couldn't eat on the trail because they would just sap all my energy. One was the instant mashed potatoes and the other was Pop-Tarts. I don't know what was in them, but both days after I would eat these for dinner or a Pop-Tart for breakfast, I just would not hike very well at all, so I learned to just cut those out of my diet. which meant that the ones that I had in these resupply boxes either needed to be pulled out, or when they came to me, I would just toss it in a hiker box or give it to a friend. What I did find very helpful to have in my resupply box was a handy wipe, just a reusable paper towel. It's more sturdy than just a regular paper towel, but you can use this to wash your dishes, and these would last me a good week or so. Eventually, I just started using my bandana to dry out my pot and my hands to kind of wipe it out. It was easy, and it just meant that I didn't have to carry an extra item, so I went the path of least resistance on that one. Other things that were in here, these are dry wipes. They're not actually baby wipes that are dried out. They're dry wipes that I bought in a pack of, I think, 50 or so. And they're just almost like a fabric, and you just wet them, and you can use these to bathe with. And I found these very handy because they're very, very lightweight, and I would carry about 5 of them with me. I wouldn't use them every day, but when I got real muddy or real sweaty, it was nice to be able to just wash up and then put this into my garbage bag to pack out. And I didn't have to worry about buying baby wipes, which with the moisture can be very heavy. These were just really easy. They don't get all soapy or anything like that, but just work great as a wet washcloth for what I would call a bird bath in camp at night, to freshen up and make me feel clean in between town stops. I also sent these. It was cut up bandana. I cut them in 4 and sewed the corners. And these were originally pea rags, but I actually stopped using pea rags on the trail. So when these came, they were just an extra rag for me to have. And again, I could just throw it in the hiker box if I didn't need it. At one point, I lost a bandana, so this is good to have as an extra clean item. And sometimes when it got real cold and my nose was running, I would just attach this to my backpack. Instead of using it as a pea rag, I could use it as a snot rag. So that was a handy thing to have, but again, not essential by any means. And finally, Q-tips. These were very handy to have, and I was really glad that I included these in my boxes, because nobody's going to buy a big box of Q-tips, and to buy them and the travel size gets pretty expensive. So I would carry these, and I also often got extra Ziploc bags in my resupply boxes, and sometimes I would be specific and say I need some gallon bags, or these are quart bags that usually I sent 4 or 5. Again, because they're expensive to buy and they come in large quantities, so unless you have another hiker that you can share items with, you're going to end up hiker boxing a lot of that stuff, and when you do that, your unit cost per item goes up considerably. So I found that it was nice to have things in my resupply box that I didn't want to have to buy and throw away half of. And some other things that were hit or miss, a little bit of toilet paper. It's always nice to have actually good quality toilet paper on the trail, so that was nice to see. The tissues, I would either have my husband take these out, or I would pass them along, leave them in a hiker box, because I didn't carry those after the first few days. Earplugs, I didn't need a lot of these, but I did have one day where I woke up in the morning looking for my earplugs. I was in a shelter and I had taken them out and discovered that a mouse ate one while I was sleeping. So it was nice to be able to replace the earplugs occasionally. The little golf ball is actually a plastic toy golf ball that I bought, I think a set of 8 at the dollar store, and they were good for rolling my feet out. So these were handy to have on occasion. If I got tired of carrying it, I would just throw it in the hiker box. Waterproof matches, again, not essential, and I didn't need very many of these on the trail, but sometimes when you're trying to start a fire, they're helpful. Little gas tablets in case I got upset stomach, but amazingly, I really didn't on the trail. Toothpaste in the small size was wonderful to have, and again, knowing it was in a resupply box, these would last me about a month, 3 weeks or so I didn't have to go buy that in the store. Razors as well, they typically come in big packages, so having these, and these are super, super light, less than an ounce each. I would carry a razor with me so that I could shave whenever I was in town, and really enjoyed having those and not having to worry about finding them. There's, let's see, a couple more meds. Tums, I carried maybe the first month, and then I stopped carrying those. So these were all things that I put on a list that I just told my husband when he's getting a package, take this out, take that out, take out the hair ties, I don't need them. So that made me think about an approach that I would use if I were to do the thru hike again or to hike a different trail. And so what would I do differently with the resupply boxes? Instead of having these boxes all packed up and ready to go, and I spent a lot of time sorting things, packing, putting things into Ziplocs by category, all that kind of stuff. A lot of this ended up going in hiker boxes. It was things I didn't need, or I would ask my husband to take it out before he shipped the box so we didn't waste the money on the postage. I would actually use a shopping list, home shopping list, and I kept a list on my phone of all the things that I needed to have in a resupply box. So I would kind of divide these out, I think, and have, a section, a pile of food or a box of food, a box of maybe candy bars, a box of toiletries, a box of prepackaged vitamins, and send a list to whoever's doing your boxes and say, okay, here are the things I need in the next box that you send me. And very often I would also order things, if I had a gear fixed or something that needed to be replaced, I might have that sent home and then forwarded on to me, just because it was easier sometimes, not if I didn't know exactly where I was going to be and it wasn't something I needed right away. If I didn't know how long it would take to arrive, because Amazon's 2 days, but lots of other places it might be a week or so before something comes. I would send those things to the house and they would come into a resupply box, and then I would get everything at once. So what I would do is set that up as kind of like a little store within the house, where I could grab the list off my phone and say, these are the things that I need, paste it in a text message, and just text that to whoever's doing your resupply boxes for you and say, using this pick list, can you grab these things and throw them in the box? And then maybe there's some other things that you need, just a one-off, that you could say, can you pick this up at the store and throw it in for me? Or I've ordered this package, and as soon as it comes, throw it in the box for me, and then forward it on. One of the advantages of that more situational approach to getting your hiker boxes or your resupply boxes packed as you need them is that you aren't spending money shipping things that you don't need. You're just getting what you need when you need it, which is very helpful. Now, of course, that's a little bit more work for whoever is doing your resupply boxes for you, but I think if you walk through the process together in advance and they know what's what, you both have gone through the list together, and when you say, okay, I need, I don't know, Q-tips, they know they want to grab just one pack of 10 Q-tips and not a whole carton and things like that. So if you go through the process together, I think you can make it fairly easy. And shipping the boxes through the Postal Service is really incredibly easy. You can do it online using their click and ship tool, and I just had that tied to my PayPal account. And I had given my husband a spreadsheet of places that I thought that I would be stopping, and I ended up not being there on the days that I expected, but they were places where I knew resupply might be kind of difficult. So those were the places I targeted to have my packages shipped. And usually I would send them to a hostel. If I was going to be in a hostel, it was much more convenient to have a package there waiting for me rather than having to try to go to the post office when I got into town. So I would always opt for the hostel over general delivery to the post office if I had the option. And 9 times out of 10, I would say that worked for getting items sent to me. And again, just reducing the waste and streamlining what you get, because my boxes had so much food in them that I had probably 10 days worth of food. So that's a lot of weight that you don't want to carry. And if you're, feeling generous and you can pass it on, that's great. But it's also, hard on the budget. So knowing that you could only get 4 or 5 of something when you needed it, to me, is preferable to having several items and having to carry a whole bunch of stuff that came in the resupply box. I did a couple times break that out and send myself, bounce a box ahead with the large packages of stuff that I bought at the grocery store, like the breakfast essentials. I kept some of those and put some more in my box to bounce on. But then again, that's more shipping. At that point, some of those items had been shipped twice, so that's more cost. So if you're really on a tight budget, the thing to do would be just make arrangements to have items that you can't get on the trail sent to you. Things like, nutritional supplements if you need them. Dehydrated food was another thing that I really loved getting in my boxes, because I couldn't buy that on the trail. If you have special recipes that you like, having those dehydrated and ready to send to you, that's very helpful. But things like oatmeal and ramen and or pesticides, you don't need to send to yourself. Other things like, candy bars, I sent them because I knew what I liked and I knew I had a great deal on those. And even after the shipping, that was a lot cheaper than buying them on the trail. But there, you can find candy bars just about anywhere. And then the other thing to consider is that you may want some more fresh food options. Towards the end of the trail, I started packing out a block of cheese. I would pick up a little 4-pack of the Hawaiian rolls. They come in a 4-pack, so those make great sandwiches with a little cheese and mayo, and that was good because I wasn't doing the tuna, I wasn't doing the tortillas, and so I needed something different to snack on. And my lunches actually ended up being lots and lots of snacks, so that worked out for me. And that fresh stuff wouldn't go well in a resupply box, so it's easier to get it at the grocery store. So all in all, I would say my resupply box strategy was maybe 50% successful, but I learned a lot and definitely would do things somewhat differently the next time around.